right. Well, Hakeem, appreciate you coming here. For those who will come later via Zoom, or if this is going to be how you learn it from video recording, it's good as well. So I'm Josh Curtin. I'm the academic and career mentor here. So welcome. Um, Today we're going to be going over cover letters. Why do you need one? What parts are involved with them? And then I'll show you a few examples here um, to get you started. So thank you once again for coming. I did pass out. I've got these handy dandy career guides here for Andrew College. Um, this guide is pretty cool because it takes you everything from exploring your options as a major, as a career, goes into resume writing, cover letters, LinkedIn, how to dress for an interview, how to do mock interviews, reference pages, how to network, job searching, and everything else. So it's a really good guide. Everyone should get one as incoming freshmen. If you don't have one, I've got enough for everyone. So please come by my office, or if you're an ACE, you will be handed one to your instructor during that time. All right, so to get started, what is a cover letter? Hakeem, are you familiar with what a cover letter is, or what do you think? Okay, so what was something you remember you had to put on your cover letter? It's probably been a while, huh? That's okay. Well, good. We'll take a look at it and see where we can tweak it. How's that? All right. So I titled it here, yes, you do need a cover letter. I mean, I would venture to say probably 95% of all jobs you're going to apply for, whether it's for your career, for a job, probably need some form of cover letter. And your cover letter is just really, it's the start to get you in the door. It's telling the employer what they want to know, what you've experienced, and there's different parts to it. And so we're going to go over all that, but in the end, cover letters tend to be tedious. They tend to most people don't like them and find them annoying to write. However, they are required for most jobs, so unfortunately, you do have to have one. And once you start getting the foundations of one that you like, you can actually continue with that one and start tweaking it there for the position. And I'll talk a little about how that will work for you guys. All right, so here's kind of what we're discover. What is the purpose of it? How do you get started on one? If we have time, we'll do an activity, some tips, and we'll go through some questions you guys may have. All right, and here's our learning objectives here is that be able to summarize the main takeaways related to the basics of cover letters and translate into a personalized next step for their career plan. So basically, while you may not write a cover letter here, I want to make sure that you are provided with the tools and you have a basic understanding of where to start and where to go to in order to create one. So the purpose, your resume is about you, right? But your cover letter is really about them and why you're going to make a good fit. It's that first impression they see of you. So if you don't have a good cover letter that stands out, a lot of times they're going to throw you to the pile. And oftentimes, if you have now that a lot of pre-screening is done with automated technology, if they find spelling errors, formatting errors, if you don't have the qualifications that are required for the position within your cover letter, you automatically get rejected from the pile. So it's important that you have the perfect cover letter to make sure that you advance and get that interview that you so deserve. And here's the purpose. A dog walker is needed, must love dogs. And then the person's like, oh, I love dogs. I have 6 of them. And we enjoy walking every day. So that whole purpose of why you would explain why you need it. This here goes into that the job is what's required. The dog walker is needed and you have to love dogs. As you are sent out an email, you have to have your resume. And then here's why the applicant's thinking in this whole process. They're thinking, if I didn't love dogs, then why would I want to be a dog walker, right? I've already included dog walking experience in my resume, and I hate cover letters. So while yes, like I said, it's tedious and it's time wasting, but for some professionals, it's that initial step that will weed out possible employees to get to the ones that they're really looking for. So you've got to Unfortunately, you got to put a lot of time and effort into your cover letter, and you got to make sure that it's right and error-free, and it's what they're looking for. So once again, I kind of just covered that. All right, so your purpose here is your goal as a job candidate is to prove you are what the employers are looking for. And that's kind of what you need to show forth on your cover letter, right? So you're trying to prove to them, hey, I'm the best candidate. Here's all the reasons why. Let me put it in this cover letter for you, right? And that's going to be the start of it. And so the employer is asking, can they do this job? Do they want the job? Are they a good fit? And so this is their initial take of how to figure out if you will be a good fit with them, is when they're looking at the cover letter. They're going to find all the answers to those three questions probably in your cover letter, which is why it's important to make sure you have one and that it's done successfully. So here's how you get started. The job description is your secret weapon. They're telling you exactly what they're looking for, right? So if you know exactly what they're looking for, you need to be able to tweak your job skills, your experience, and make sure that what they're looking for is inserted into your cover letter and your resume as well, but more so in your cover letter, because you're trying to impress them and you're trying to tell them you have all the requirements. You can create a requirements outline, which I've seen people do. They turn their job description into a bulleted outline. So for instance, if the job requires critical thinking, good communication skills, and working with a wide variety of events, and they put that right there in the job description. Well, your cover letter needs to reflect that you have those skills, and that you need to make sure that you tell them, I've worked on different projects where I've had a lot of success with event programming. I've had a team consisting of 6 team members where we work cohesively. So you're trying to interweave the conversation of what they're looking for into parts of your cover letter, and we'll show you where they are, but I'm just trying to see how you can manipulate it in. And then you can create the response outline. You respond to each one of the requirements outline, and you try to your response outline should be a reflection of your requirements. So you're trying to match them up, making it clear that you are the person they're looking for. So what they're looking for, how you provide it. What they're looking for, how you provide it. What you're looking for, how they provide it. You're coming up with examples and situations with your experience or your degree or whatever, your internships, so that way the match is there. So here's a simple example. Overseeing the maintenance of all physical student records in the school. You had this, they wanted you to do organizing all data as per state and SATA systems, policies, and procedures, working closely with the director on these things, and interacting with parents when called upon, the admissions or withdrawal procedure. So there's their outlines, what they're looking for, and here's how you respond. Well, I had this course project where I had to oversee the students' records with administratively. I conducted user tests for CHI students, design competition, and collaborated with the events with other community members, sorority event. So here you're trying to match up what they're looking for to what you could provide, and that's the best way to do it. So where do you get started? You've got your skills, you've got your experience, and you got your accomplishments. And how does that all interact to what they're looking for? And so here's where, like I said, once again, you're going to interweave those 3 things and how to say, I've organized this, I've got experience with Banner, and I'm certified here. Here's how I can say I'm proficient in Banner and Microsoft Office, by interweaving your skills, your experience, and your accomplishments, okay? So while you might think now, because you guys are in college and you're still young and may not have a lot of experience, there are still some takeaways that you can gain from your courses, your previous work experience. Your clubs and organizations can provide some of these things for you guys, as well as, like I said, if you have a job, if you've done internships, or you've job shadowed, however it works out, you should or could provide those things that they're looking for. We're going to skip this activity for now just because there's just me and Hakeem, but this is a good one where you would actually go and we'd look at an athletic trainer. It would show what requirements and how we could look at examples of how we could say that we meet those requirements. And that's basically what the activity would do. All right. So for those, and when you get the book, um, if you start on page 17 of the book, it says the anatomy of a cover letter. We start off with the formatting. So um, 17, and it'll flow onto 18 and 19. Those are two simple the formats that you can use. So most cover letters are going to look similar. If you've got like a unique design to your resume, oftentimes you want to make sure that it reflects on the cover letter. So if it's styled in one way for the resume, make sure it matches your cover letter and vice versa, because they want to make sure that when you turn this stuff in, it looks the same. They don't want to say, all right, this looks like it's from a totally different person. So make sure that in your best effort to try to make sure they at least look similar. It doesn't always happen. It also depends on the job, right? So if it's your career, if they're just requiring it, you may want to just provide a basic cover letter versus if you're an art major, the expectation is you may want to turn in something a little nicer and a little more creative to show your personality and your skills. So you'd want to format it to that. All right, so the header, the font, the margins should be the same as the resume. Left align everything. And this, like I said, this is going with the classic style resume. This is not always the case. And I don't want you to think there's only one way to create a resume, because there's not. I'm showing most of you guys the way I'm teaching you the basic way. And then if you like it, you can tweak it and then make it more personalized, okay? So if I give you the foundation of, I want you to have good content versus flashiness, right? Because at the end, your content is what's going to get you the job. The flashiness is just an added bonus. All right, so things you should have on there. Obviously you need your name, you need your address, you need the business's name, you need the date, you need contact information, the title, the company, their address, and make sure it's all correct, okay? I can't stress that enough, that you have to make sure that it all lines up so that way your information is correct. So if you had a date, like if you moved and your resume is different than your cover letter, that's going to be a red flag for them. Like, why do I have two different locations, right? But in addition, you want to make sure that their information is correct, to say that you've done the research on this company and you know I'm applying for this job that goes to this address or whatever. The next thing I want to emphasize is a lot of times when you apply for a job, you're not sure who you are sending it to, okay? So you might just put to whom it may concern or human resources. Well, yes, I would say that's the minimal amount of effort you do. The best case scenario, you should always look who is the hiring person for this job. And you may need to call the company. You may need to email somebody, because that shows that you took the initiative to find out who is hiring, so that way I'm addressing my cover letter to you. So rather than saying to whom it may concern, I can say, Dear Miss Jenkins, right? And if you know they're married or not married. If they're not married and you're not sure, make sure you put MS, right? Or if you know they're a doctor, because sometimes they're a doctor versus whatever, they want to make sure they get credit, right? But don't address dear sir or madam. That's unprofessional, okay? So if you're unsure if they're married or not, you can do Ms., and that's acceptable, okay? Nowadays, your signature should be on it. It doesn't, if you don't have your actual signature, that's okay. If you have a digital one, you can put on there. If you don't put a signature at all, the implication is that you created this document and you're sending it in. It doesn't have to be on there. It looks better if it's on there, but it doesn't have to be on there. Especially if you send it electronically, right? Because a lot of people don't know how to scan in their signature and then do all that. So, but I can certainly show you guys how to do it if you need to. If you're submitting your resume, or excuse me, your cover letter and resume electronically, make sure that you're telling them you're enclosing your resume and cover letter so that they're aware that you've attached and they know what to look for. All right. So what's it all about? The opening paragraph, after you've done your salutations, you've got your name and who you're applying this to. You're trying to do an opening that's going to catch them, something that's going to say, oh, this has got me, I'm really interested in who this person is. The link is that you want to make sure that you're providing your skills and experience to the position that's going to sink them in. And it's not always easy. The best way is to look at several different cover letters, honestly, and find the one that works for you, the one that fits your situation, the one that you feel is within your personality type, right? So you can start things however you wanted, but ultimately you're trying to grab the reader's attention. And that's just like you would do like in any kind of thing. You want to make sure that they're interested, not, hey, this is Josh Curtin. I am applying for the position of whatever. I think I'd be a great candidate. I'm awesome, right? I mean, you might think it looks good, but what are some things, and you could throw there into your opening number? You can talk about your interest, your passion, how, you've been waiting for this position to open, and that I've been following your company for so long, is that I feel like it's the future of, technology and resources, whatever, whatever whatever you're applying for. But ultimately, you want to make sure you're trying to also tell them that you are a good match. And so that's what you're trying to show them off right here. Maybe not necessarily random fact dropping. A lot of times companies don't like that. I can't believe you're the third largest technology employer in the United States. Well, they probably already know that. And now it just sounds like you're sucking up. But if you could find a way that said, that, hey, I'm really excited about applying because you guys are so passionate about your philanthropy, which involves this, and taking it from a different angle, they might say, yeah, we're looking for people that really want to be involved in the community and can do something other than the job that they're applying for. That might be the lead-in that they need. And then no dropping names when it's applicable. I actually had a student drop a name that says, yeah, I've known Mark Johnson for 3 years, and he's such a great employer, said such good things. Well, guess what? What if Mark Johnson is about to get fired, and you just used him as a reference? And now they're like, I don't want anybody who's associated with Mark Johnson, and now you've just lost yourself an interview, right? So don't drop names. And here's the start. A week opening. I'm running today to apply for the project manager position you posted on your company website. Well, I mean, yeah, you are. It's not really getting to the point, but a good opening. As a current second-year master's student specializing in preservation of information at the University of Michigan School of Information, I'm excited to apply for the Digital Preservation Library position at the University of Michigan. I believe that my experience in education makes me a strong candidate for this position. Well, yes, it's probably more the common kind. You'd see that one very often, but it's not really catching anything, right? And then the last one, it's a native Seattleite. I often watched the Loggers when my older sister, Jenny Jones, was an assistant coach for the softball team. And when I visited campus, I've always been impressed with the campus's beautiful brick buildings and commitment to strong liberal arts and education. I'm excited to apply for the Business, Economics, and Social Science librarian position at the University of Puget Sound because it combines 3 of my strongest skill sets as a librarian: business references, social science data reference, and information literacy. Wow, they just took everything. They talked about the company. They talked about where their interest began when they were young with their sister. And then they pulled in their skill set from what the job was requiring. So it was a good attention getter. It drew you in. I think that's kind of what the employers are looking for, is something that's going to draw them in. Not sure why that popped up, but okay. So, and then here's another example of, I'm not going to read this one through, but another example, will challenge my current concepts of design in a place where my non-traditional background will offer unique perspectives and contributions to group team projects, right? And it goes on. So you've got to think outside the box. You got to figure out, how can I match what my passion is and what I'm interested in about the company, and match it with the position at hand and the skills that are required of it. All right, the skills matching. Describe specific skills that are clearly matched to your job description. references specific examples from coursework. This is, so if you're looking at your skills matching, this is another one you could do that outline where you could say, all right, what skills do I possess that will make me a good candidate of the skills they're requiring, right? And so here it lists through connecting your accomplishment, skills, and knowledge to the position. Bullet points or paragraphs forms are both acceptable here. This is that next paragraph. Experiences highlights should be specific and concise, linking past experiences through transferable skills. And it tells the employer how you can directly contribute to the company. Don't make them connect the dots, right? So you don't want to insinuate that you have it. You want to tell them you have it, right? So my experience with in the healthcare industry, you know, and talk about how, you know, you've been, if you were a phlebotomist, that you've successfulully drawn blood for, you know, 60 people a day for the last 3 months, like showing that you have it there and record of that, you know, without casualty, and, you know, if that's one of the skills that's required. So you want to tell them exactly what they're looking for. Don't let them connect the dots. That's important. All right, and here's an example of the second paragraph. Working at JSTOR would give me a greater understanding of these resources and perspective on how they are produced. Working in the interlibrary loan department required me to work independently and in a detail-oriented fashion. I was also responsible for communicating and addressing issues with other libraries, developing firm communication skills. This also familiarized me with library bibliographic information. I've also more recently used these skills as a content manager at the IPL. There, I assist in evaluate, editing, and adding resources both in database and HTML format. So here, once again, they're not insinuating, they're telling you exactly how they got these skills, okay? And that's the real example. And there's another example. All right, in that last sentence, the conclusion, you're giving your final statements of interest and qualifications. You're reiterating your skills in a different way. So you're trying to wrap it up and still make yourself sound like, all right, it's coming to a close. I still possess these skills, but I want to remind you what they are and why I'm good at it, right? And then indicate your plans to contact the employer to discuss opportunities or request an interview. More than often not, this is where a lot of people will forget to put that. It's important that you tell them after you apply that I will, you know, I'm going to follow up. I'd like to follow up with you for an interview or a phone call in the next couple, you know, in a week or two, and tell them when you're going to do it. And that way they know, man, this person's really serious about applying. They're going to call me, right? But if you have any questions in the meantime, here, I'm going to leave my number or my email, right? And then lastly, make sure you thank the employer for his or her time and consideration. It's just a nice gesture. I mean, it's all very, they know it's all going to be in there anyway, but it's just a nice gesture to say, hey, thanks for reading my resume. Because a lot of times there are committee members that spend a lot of time looking at all these resumes and cover letters, and it's nice to appreciate them for their hard work. And here's an example. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'll be available starting from the beginning of September. You can contact me at this address or my phone number. I'm attaching my resume as well to give you information about my academic background and work experience. Also, you can send a brief overview snapshot of my work here for. So here, they probably should have given you a specific date when they're contacting, but they're also giving you more resources if you want to look into them more, which is it's a nice little tweak there. And then here's it going on to continue for your internships experience. So yeah, cold cover letters. Here's examples of things you're trying to avoid. Excuse me, that's a lie. Cold cover letters are just sending things in for positions that are never advertised. This could also be you're applying to a job that you don't even know if it exists, or if you're just telling them you're interested in. So if there was a job out there that you really were interested in, but there was still somebody in it, you could actually send what they call a cold cover letter. Or if there was a position you think they needed to have, you could open up the idea for it and that you'd be a good candidate. So it is something that happens. I haven't heard of a whole lot of cases of it happening, but it's still an option, and get your name out there. At least they'll start listening. And there's an example. I'm not going to go through all that. It's just basically how you would send a cold cover letter in the cover letter format. All right, what should you avoid? Once again, assuming employers can connect the dots, or not just employers, people on the search committees, because not all of them, you know, a lot of times they're just staff workers that are being pulled together on a committee. They may not be able. So make sure you're explicit about your experience and what they're looking for. Try to avoid overusing the I. I did this, I did that, blah, blah, blah. You need to phrase it in a way that makes you, that you've contributed to these things, and it's not so I focused on that, because they're going to get tired of reading all about I. Making it too long. 1 page maximum. Honestly, you really don't need to go more than 1 page. But try to take up the whole page. You should have at least 3 to 4 good paragraphs in there. A great cover letter is concise and compelling. Yeah, don't repeat your resume word for word. That's not the point of a cover letter. And your cover should tell a story about relevant accomplishments on your resume. So if things don't match up on your resume and your cover letter, that's going to arise suspicion and probably going to get thrown in the reject pile. Make sure there's no spelling or grammar errors. And then, yeah, ask for several people to look at it. You know, they might not like the way you phrased it, or they may not understand what you're going for there. So having different eyes look at it will help you. And then here's what I'm looking for. Focus your letter on what you can do for them, not what they can do for you, right? So as you're writing your cover letter, you're not talking about, I can't wait to work in a business that has such competitive salaries and great benefits and has lots of days off. You know, you don't want to do that in the cover letter. You want to talk about how you're going to provide services for them, not they for you. Also, things to avoid. Saying you don't know how to do something. If you don't know how to do it, you should not put it in your cover letter. That's an instant way to get it into the reject pile. If it's an essential part of what they're looking for, try to rephrase it in the way like they did here, that if you don't know something, that you can learn it because you've learned this, that, and the other that's very similar to it. It would just give you an opportunity to learn a new, you know, platform, or learn a new infrastructure, or learn just whatever that skill set is. Never tell them you don't possess the skill if you really want that job, because that's not what they're looking for. They want people who can do it, not who can't. See, look, I'm familiar with Interface. I've used similar programs. I already know other products. So you might not know Banner, but you know Empower. Well, they're very similar for us in the registrar's office. So they're thinking, well, if they can learn the skills to learn Empower, they should be able to learn the skills to learn Banner. So it's not that they're not untrainable. It's just they're not familiar with that specific one. Unless you were going to be Banner operator, then that might be a disqualifier. All right. So lots of different resources. All this stuff will be shared to our participants. It's also available to me. I can send it out to anybody who wants it. But there's lots of different guides. There's, like I said, there's so many different ways you can write a cover letter, and there's so many different techniques and tweaks. And unfortunately, things change a lot. So me teaching you how to write this cover letter may change in a year or two. You never know, right? Or hopefully, maybe you won't have to do it all, which is what some companies are going to altogether. Ultimately, though, have your cover letter reviewed by myself minimally. If you want your advisor, your mentor, anybody, that's a good start or a good reliance there. But if you're still unsure, if you look to our career services guide here, I know it's set backwards, and start on page 16 and goes to page 19, they've got wonderful examples of how to create a cover letter. Now, you probably shouldn't copy it verbatim, but you could probably pull some of this stuff off of there to get ideas of how do I structure the sentences, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, lastly, let's see. I gotta find it. I'm sorry, I should have had it pulled up. Oh, that's not what I wanted either. Cover letter guide. Workshops, cover letter. It's loading. I do apologize for the wait. While this is loading, I'm going to go walk this over to Hakeem. All right. here's another quick guide of what you guys can use. Um, I like it because it's just in one page and it's kind of giving you some ideas and tweaks and things to remember. Like I said, find the name of the person you're looking for, use your style, be concise, simple language, show your distinctiveness and fit for the job, triple check your grammar, active voice, use the same paper and font on your cover letter as your resume, be sure to edit your cover letter. This last one, put enclosed resume at the very end of your cover letter. It's yes or no. It doesn't matter. If you have room, put it in. If you don't have room, don't worry about it. The assumption is that when you turn in your cover letter, you're going to include your resume anyway, so it's kind of redundant. So it's the same thing with the signature. Like I said, if you can put the signature in, great. If you can't, they understand. They know why. And then once again, this is just a quick, concise telling you, what do I do in paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So the first one's, why are you writing this? And make sure you grab the employer's attention, a name. Number 2, why are you qualified for the position you're applying for? What have you done to that applies to this position you're applying for? Why should the reader look at your resume? Paragraph 3, why are you further interested in this position or motivated? Why are you interested in this job? Why do you work for this organization? And then anything that's personal to you. And then lastly, restate your interest in the opportunity and thank them for the interview. So it's a good, like I said, it's a good set. And then here's again the cover letter format in order, so that if you wanted to start, if you actually copied and pasted this, you could start typing it in and start kind of getting an idea. All right, putting all that information there. So I really like this guide. It's quick and easy. I have several copies of here as well. Cover letter. I do have examples of different cover letters also that are also not in the guide. I often will write cover letters to give you guys different perspectives and different jobs that you can look at and how you can kind of tweak. But here's another example. It's a lot of this stuff in here is this one's more science-based, but you know, like I said, there's so many jobs out there and there's so many different things that you're going to be looking at. Excuse me. It's important to have a different idea of whatever field you're looking to apply in, and your for your cover letter and your resume or position. The formatting could be very different. I will say also, when you're doing your cover letter, probably convert it to PDF, as that's the standard, and it sticks with the format the way you wanted it. Whereas if you did it in Word and you're running Office 2020 and they're running 2017, and you know there's been updates and the tweaks that you had that made it look great may not look so great on Office 2017. So now they're looking at something that's all wonky and they're like, well, they didn't do this right, and so they throw that away. Where you're like, no, I had it perfect. So keep it in PDF. That way you know it's getting to them the way you want it. PDF doesn't change the format. It's however it was on the screen. It's exactly how it's going to go through when you send it to them. So a little word of advice. All right, well, I'm going to wrap up the online version here, the Zoom version here of our class workshop here. But like I said, if you need me, I'm in Science 108. My email is joshcurtin@andrewcollege.edu. You can set up an email with me through my Calendly link, and you know, whatever you want, I'll work with you one-on-one. I know Miss Amanda Knight's class does cover letter and resume and mock interview. So if you want to review this, you certainly can. And if you have questions, like I said, just set up a meeting with me and we'll start working on it one-on-one, face-to-face, or however you need to do it. All right, well, have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to see you guys at my next workshop here coming up next week. It's an Adulting 101 with cooking basics. I think I got it. All right. Oop, I can't take, oh, no, I didn't. Stop recording, yes.